Evan Levine, the CEO, Chairman of PsyBio Therapeutics. Evan, good afternoon, sir. How are we doing today?
Good afternoon, Spencer. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on, guys. I see Evan's slides. Let's get Evan's slides up on the screen if we can. There they are. And Evan, the floor is yours, sir. If you can maybe just hit that hide button so we don't see that annoying pop-up. And I'm going to get out of here, and then the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I was able to catch the last few minutes of your speech there. And I truly appreciate what you just did for the viewers. I mean, FDA and biotechnology are hand in hand, or other major regulatory bodies. If you're not prosecuting, your efforts through a major regulatory body, then there is really no pathway to, commercialization. So PsyBio Therapeutics is a pure play biotechnology company, and the name is actually quite deliberate. It's a portmanteau, and we didn't just throw the words biotechnology and psychedelic together. This was well thought out, and it stands for psycho-targeted biosynthetic therapeutics, which is our foundational technology in the area we're working with. Our original indications are looking to develop new therapeutics for mental and neurological health. Incidentally, we are listed. We're a public company. We are on the Toronto Venture Exchange under PSYB. We're also on the OTCQB under PSYBF. As I just said, we're a public company, so I do caution you to review our safe harbor statement. I will be making forward-looking comments during this presentation. So I'm going to try and expedite this a little bit to offer some time for Q&A. But I've been working in life sciences in different areas, from investment banking to portfolio management to actually executive operations, most of my career. And this is actually one of the most exciting things that I ever could have worked on. So we are building therapeutics out of molecules that have been in existence for thousands of years and have been in use in different methods for thousands of years. So just specifically, I'll discuss the magic mushroom. So magic mushrooms are evidenced in early cave paintings that they were ingested. We know that they were ingested by both humans and animals. Fast forward to biblical times, they're mentioned in the Bible. Fast forward to Native Americans using and ingesting these for spiritual purposes. Move to Francis Crick, who claims that he invented the double helix while using lysergic acid. Then in the 1930s, Dr. Albert Hofmann was able to synthesize a couple of these molecules, LSD and psilocybin, and thousands of patients were actually treated or in clinical trials through Sandoz for indications that we're looking at today: depression, anxiety, PTSD, and substance abuse. And there was a lot of promise to it. But these drugs also evidently cause a euphoria. So they made it into the recreational market, which then got the entire research effort almost got turned off by the Nixon administration with the Controlled Substances Act in 1970. That didn't stop the research. It just pushed it underground. And through the next iteration of time, Steve Jobs was evidently a big fan of LSD. Johns Hopkins set up a center for research in psychedelics. Fast forward to recently, Compass Pathways is now in the clinic studying psilocybin for treatment-resistant depression, and brings us to PsyBio Therapeutics. So these chemicals, drugs, compounds that we're discussing, started off, by spiritual healers. And spiritual healers didn't know if they were treating anything. They just know that if you ingested this type of compound, that there's some type of immediate effect. So that was a good thing. However, the drugs that we're looking at that exist in these plants, I mean, they're not here for any particular reason except to defend the plants. This is a survival chemical, but no different than a lot of other plants, such as something more mild like poison ivy. But we now know in more recent times that there are treatment opportunities for this, and I welcome this entire new industry that's studying these for a lot of different indications. So we are not working, we're not in farming, we are not agriculture. So we are using the genetics of these plants and different fungi. So we get the genetics, and we are doing this combinatorial method of combining these and studying them for different treatment reasons. And why? Agricultural products are highly variable, but with our our ability to biosynthetically produce many of these compounds, we could get specified component ratios, predictable composition, and they're reliable. We could get certified purity, and we could make them approvable versus and reliable versus any type of farming product. And how do we do this? So we have a very austere methodology of developing drugs at PsyBio Therapeutics. This all starts off in silico. We study these in computers. We move to in vitro. The way we come up with our portfolio is to study receptor binding across a whole portfolio of different molecules. We then move to in vivo. We put these in animals. We have experience in strain development, optimization. We've moved to commercial manufacturing on 2 different products. And now we've just initiated our clinical regulatory effort. Delivering formulation as necessary. And we continue to file intellectual property on a regular basis. So the foundation is that we have the global exclusive rights to a platform technology that is able to biosynthetically develop these drugs from genetically modified bacteria. And we believe that we have the biosynthetic space blanketed with intellectual property, and we continue to file on a regular basis. So we have full translational research here from bench to bedside. We have our own laboratory with scientists working every day, looking for new molecules. We have our own vivarium on a daily basis. As appropriate, we are taking these molecules and testing them in different behavioral models in rodents. And we have our own internal clinical team, regulatory. We have our own program management. We have our own biostatistics, and we are readying for the clinic. So expertise in strain engineering, as I said, we have the global exclusive rights to this platform technology. We are blanketing the space with patents. We have moved 2 of our molecules from the laboratories into commercial manufacturing. We're dealing with 3 different CMOs at the time, and we're working on large-scale manufacturing right now, which we're going to be putting out news as that develops. Clinical regulatory. The whole purpose of this is CGXP process moving into the clinic. And if you look at our news flow, we just filed our first interaction with the FDA last week. We filed and requested our first pre-IND meeting. Now, why invest in PsyBio Therapeutics? We have the platform technology. It's very rare to acquire such an opportunity. We have the exclusive rights to this. As I said, we are filing intellectual property on a regular basis. And because we have such a large portfolio and we're doing this in a combinatorial strategy, we have multiple shots on goal. We have a highly experienced team. Our chief medical officer has run thousands of trials and has hundreds of approvals under his belt. So except for external manufacturing, we do most of our activities in-house at PsyBio Therapeutics. We're in the process of preparing our IND packages. I said we just submitted our first pre-IND correspondence with the FDA and look forward to a very healthy and long-term partnership with them. We're fully capitalized. We just went public about 7 months ago, and we went out with a triple oversubscribed institutional round. And we have a protected cost advantage, not just in the fact that we can do most of these activities internally and we don't rely on outside services, but biosynthetic production has far more advantages, in our opinion, than a lot of different competitive methods. Now, I created this slide specifically for psilocybin because psilocybin was the first drug that we synthesized with genetically modified bacteria. And we have our advantages. So our competition would be the chemical synthesis, which is now being developed in the clinic right now by Compass and Usona. Over the chemical synthetic, there are a lot of toxic components, heavy metal solvents, reagents that go into this that have underlying waste disposal issues. It takes a lot longer to produce this chemically. It's a lot more expensive, and there are multiple unstable intermediate reactions on the way. We have made a much more efficient psilocybin and these side products in a very short period of time for a small fraction of the cost against the chemical synthetic. And now we are in commercial manufacturing, scaling up our methodology. The other couple of competitive methods, and certainly there are other ways to do this, is a yeast synthesis. It would be similar to bacteria. We believe that we have advantages over yeast based on all the published information we see. We believe we have better yields, but yeast synthesis is another methodology to produce some of these products. And then there's extraction. So extraction leads you back to having to farm whatever product, whether it's a plant or a fungi. It takes some time to grow these. And there's multiple fold variation when you farm products that you get. And it takes weeks to months to grow these. So extraction is definitely a way to produce some of these drugs, but we believe that we have the most advanced method to do this using bacteria. And we could make multiple products doing this. So I described, we have a very deliberate and austere methodology. We go through target concept identification. We do thorough in vitro screening before we ever put these into animals, before moving to CGXP design and manufacturing, to going to governmental agencies asking for permissions to do this. And our ultimate goal is marketing approval through a recognized regulatory body. So target conception. Right now, we have 88 molecules in our portfolio, and 40 of them are being studied, very closely right now. So this is getting built, and the result of this is we can create analogs off of many of these alkaloids. As I said, it starts off in silico, and then we look at the receptor binding, and that's how these are created. And all of these molecules have the opportunity to be dosed in an interaction at different ratios, different specificity, and that's like the real future value. So I start off with psilocybin. For us, psilocybin is the foundation of the company. It's the beginning, but it's looking for next generation, more advanced psycho-targeted therapeutics that address these clinical unmet needs. So how do we do this? We leverage receptor binding data. We take compound 1, we study it. We look at the clinical symptoms, what remains. We take compound 2, we combine them. This can be done over and over, and there are unlimited permutations in the portfolio that we have, and the portfolio is ever growing. So the type of data that we're looking at for signals in wanting to move something out of our laboratories into commercial manufacturing and spend that effort and that capital is we're looking for efficacy data. At the end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to matter. And this is the only data we've put out so far publicly, but we have a tremendous amount more that's coming and that we've developed internally. But this is compound 1 and compound 2. So compound 1 is psilocybin in this case, and compound 2 is another alkaloid within the magic mushroom Norbaeus system. There's scant literature on it. Nobody's ever studied it. We believe that we're one of the only groups probably in a large industry that's actually looking at these and filing intellectual property on it. But what we have demonstrated so far internally is that we could dramatically reduce the amount of psilocybin and increase the amount of something that exists in a very small amount of magic mushroom and get a more efficacious response. Now, there's a lot more data that needs to be studied, but this is a clear and exciting signal that we could re-engineer what occurs in nature, change these ratios, and get, possibly a more promising compound. And what do we do from there? We move it into manufacturing. So the way our foundation works is we're leveraging synthetic biology and metabolic engineering, and we're using a fermentation-based strategy with bioreactors. So we start off with, whatever our substrate is, and our first case is 4-hydroxyindole. We insert it we combine it with genetics, we put it in a bioreactor, it produces precursor 1, precursor 2, 3, 4, our final product, and the final product also converts itself into other opportunities. And then we take a look at these, and this is how we build our portfolio. Again, we're not just in the magic mushroom. We are working in multiple plants and fungi, building out this next generation of possible candidates for the clinic. So 2 molecules have left our facilities now, commercial manufacturing. So we're using Curia. They are 3,000 person company in 20 different countries. They're working on our process development scale up. Berkeley National Lab under Department of Energy we're working with, and Bios Industry in Europe. So these are all 3 commercial manufacturers. We have successfully tech transferred. We've developed the strain banks for them, and the analytical methods are done. So you start off with baseline fermentation, you build the process, You isolate the drug and purify the drug, and you work up to pilot scale manufacturing. And that's the type of news that you should be seeing next coming out of PsyBio Therapeutics. And then we move to regulatory. There are several regulatory bodies on the planet that, you know, we feel that we should be involved with in order to develop our drugs, and looking at FDA, EMEA, Health Canada. And we have a very, very, you know, a deliberate process in doing this. As you know, we've already put out an announcement that we have put in our pre-IND meeting request to the FDA. We have been building our pre-IND package for, you know, the last year and a half, 2 years. We've been developing our CMC package. We expect our first pre-IND meeting to be upcoming just a few weeks. From there, we're going to be submitting an IND to the FDA, possibly the EMA as well, and developing this drug. And the goal is to be in clinical trials next year for product number 1. And from there, we will layer on this combinatorial approach in the future as the data is appropriate to move forward with it. And during this year, we continue to file patents. We continue to make API. We started with the pre-IND. We're going to be submitting our package, and so that's exciting. So as a biotechnology company, we are working on marketing approval of this. Here's a list of the patents. I believe we have 11 submissions so far. Our first 2 were combined into a non-provisional, and we've been filing patents on compositions, on methods, on production over the last couple of years, and we're building out what we believe is a real formidable portfolio. So we went out about 7 months ago. We engaged 8 Capital and Canaccord to go public. We set out to do a $5 million raise, and we got over triple subscribed. We got orders for $17.5 million. This was all 80% institutional round, led by 2 venerable healthcare dedicated funds in New York City. We took about 14.5 million of it, priced at 35 cents. We went public, and right now we're trading on, we started off on the Canadian on Toronto Exchange under PSYB, and we recently added the OTC, which is PSYBF. But our goal, as soon as practical, is to move our stock to the NASDAQ. Company is led by myself. I have extensive experience in life sciences, from investment banking, from portfolio management to actual operational experience running a global oncology company. I've run phase 2Bs, I've run phase 3s, I've run bioequivalent studies. I've done this in North America, South America, and Europe. I've got extensive experience interacting with the FDA, EMEA. And this year we were very fortunate to have Dr. Michael Spigarelli join us. Mike has run thousands upon thousands of studies. Extraordinarily experienced. He has hundreds of approvals under his belt, from therapeutics to diagnostics to every area of medicine. And Noah Davis, who does our financials and our marketing, we've been working together on many projects, many years, and we've been building this company. He's a founder as well, been building this company. Also, we have a couple of outside directors. Bob Oliver. Bob is probably one of a dozen plus guys on the company who was CEO of a major pharmaceutical company. He was CEO of Otsuka North America. The parent company is out of Japan. Bob was responsible for a $6 billion a year revenue book while he was CEO of that company. And Nitin Kaushal, who runs our audit committee, he's outside director. He's on multiple boards, like multiple NASDAQ boards, and he oversees our financials. We also have a clinical advisory board. At this point, everybody on this board actually is participating with hands on the company. So Dr. Andrew Jones actually is in process of developing new molecules on a regular basis. Dr. Matt McMurray works our vivarium, and he's doing the animal studies on a daily basis. And Dr. Joan Robbins and I have worked together many years. Joan and I, at my last major pharmaceutical company, we were the ones who ran those phase 2s, phase 3s, and bioequivalent studies globally. So again, key highlights: platform technology, intellectual property. We have multiple shots on goal. We have a fantastic team. INDs are in process. We're fully capitalized, and with the protected cost advantage, and we could do a lot of this internally. We look forward to, you know, all future interactions with the FDA and going into the clinic next year. So with that, I would like to open it up.
Thank you very much, Evan. Here, I'm going to go full screen there. Thank you very much, Evan Levine, again. PsyBio BioLife.com, ticker is up on the screen. Evan is the CEO and chairman of PsyBio Therapeutics. Mohit, just to second what you said, I mean, the interest in psychedelics is really something else. If you didn't know it, and before today's conference, you should know it now. It's been the unofficial theme of the day. So great stuff, Evan. Thanks a lot for joining us today at the Benzinga Small Cap Healthcare Conference.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.